Welcome to Movie World, the place where we only talk movies. I'm Andy Signore, and I'm here to review Jungle Cruise, Disney's latest live-action adaptation of a Disneyland ride. That's right, they're hoping they could turn Jungle Cruise into a movie franchise just like they did with Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, did they succeed? I'll get there in 1 second. First, did you know there were other Disneyland rides? This isn't the first attempt. There are two other ones that I remember firsthand. Eddie Murphy's The Haunted Mansion. Anybody remember that one? Did you guys like that one? That one I've sort of forgotten about. The one I implore you to go check out, though, if you didn't know existed, was Christopher Walken in The Country Bears. Oh my gosh. Country Bear Jamboree turned into a live-action nightmare fuel, starring, yes, Christopher Walken in a role. And this is on Disney Plus. You can watch the trailer, and I advise you check it out. It's terrifying. It's crazy. It's just so hard to believe they actually funded this and made this a thing. But look, Disneyland has tried numerous times, clearly, to try and turn their rides into movie franchises. So therefore, they could turn these classic rides that they don't want to delete or remove for Disney purism reasons, right? But then turn into a more popular ride, just as they did with Pirates. And Jungle Cruise is the latest to do that. Now, this is honestly a ride that makes sense to adapt. It's a ride that focuses on a skipper who tells a bunch of bad puns. You go through some fun adventures. There's some tricks along the way. And honestly, I'm surprised it took this long to get this film going, given the success of Pirates of the Caribbean. It's the early 1900s where they're going through all the crazy animals, the killer tribesmen, and all this stuff that it's like, yeah, there's plenty of here to focus on. So how did Hollywood decide to really make this work? Well, they did something wise. They cast two really likable, wonderful movie stars. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Emily Blunt. Their chemistry together here is wonderful. I have to say it works because of them. Also, the director does a fantastic job at keeping the adventure, the action going, while still making it very likable, colorful, and family-friendly. This movie truly does have Indiana Jones vibes. Look, it's not as good for me, but it's like nice to have like a updated, family-centric, fun, big adventure version of that with two big movie stars. Look, I get it. It has Indiana Jones vibes. It has The Mummy vibes. It has Romancing the Stone vibes. It sort of puts all these together in a big, shiny new Disney package that tries to make it its own new thing. And I have to admit, I had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun with it until the third act, which... The third act gets a little fantastical for me. That's where they sort of started to lose me, where the film started to get a little bit more crazy and fantasy-driven, whereas I felt like they didn't need that. If they had really just focused on the elements of the jungle and the perils of the jungle, it would have been enough for me. Like Indiana Jones, didn't really go so crazy. I mean, it does. There's some really unrealistic parts, face-melting parts of the legends and stuff that Indy's trying to get with the objects and things. But in the Kingdom of Crystal Skulls, where they really jumped the shark, right? But this movie feels like they're already getting there too quickly. And I just wish they would have focused a little bit more on just, look, keep it on the adventure. The film is also a little long. It's a little over 2 hours, and I think they could have been just a little under 2 hours. There's a few points that felt like it's stretched, especially near the third act. But I'm nitpicking here. Overall, I really did have a good time. My kids had a good time. This was a fun watch. My whole family enjoyed themselves. They really respect the ride. Let's talk about the movie. Dwayne Johnson plays the skipper. He's the one who sort of is in lead of the Jungle Cruise. Emily Blunt is going on an adventure to find a lost area with an artifact. One of those types of stories. And she is going to employ a skipper to take a cruise down this area. And The Rock's character, Frank, figures out a way to make sure he's the one who takes her down. And then that's when, because he needs money, et cetera, he's a little bit of a trickster. He's full of puns, which are very fun in the movie. Honestly, I could have had a few more puns, but the ones they do are genuinely funny and fun, just like the riverboat ride skippers themselves. They really figure out ways in the backside of water. There's a lot of references to the ride that really show the respect and fun for people who have done the Jungle Cruise, who love the Jungle Cruise and will continue to do the Jungle Cruise. It really smartly connects the ride while also creating these new fun characters, new adventure, new story that potentially could adapt the ride into this if this becomes more of a franchise. Because you got to remember, when Pirates came out, they added Jack Sparrow into the ride because the movies got so popular. Kids were doing the ride and they're like, well, where's Jack Sparrow? where's Jack Sparrow? And so Jack Sparrow was able to be entered into the canon of the ride. And some people were annoyed. The Disney purists were annoyed. But honestly, I think it only helped because Jack Sparrow, Johnny Depp's performance was so iconic, especially in that first film. And the second film, to me, are the two ones that really hold up before they really started losing their way and getting crazy and crazy. This film definitely has potential. I could see this becoming a fun franchise. Now, I don't know how they're going to continue to always be on a Jungle Cruise is the only problem here. The title of the movie really defines them to one place and one activity. I wouldn't mind them jumping, though, and doing some sort of other location cruise or jungle something else. I think they'd have to figure out a clever way to turn this into a franchise. But all I know is I would love to see these characters back together. They're fun together. It really does have that Romancing the Stone vibe, which is a really good film if you've never seen it, with Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner. Jewel the Nile, their sequel. We've been missing something like that. It's really also just an adaptation of The African Queen. If you really go back and watch that movie as well, lots of new, things they're borrowing from, but in respectful ways to update while also making their own, and obviously adapting a Disneyland ride of the Jungle Cruise. Given all those things, I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed it. Some of the action sequences are really exciting. Again, I think the movie has a much better first and second act than it does the final act. It has the same problem that a lot of these films do, where they feel like they need to just go bigger and bigger and bigger and crazier and wilder. And I think all of us, my family included, all started to sort of lose interest as more CGI things started happening. I don't know why films and movie stars keep feeling like they need to go to that big CGI fest in the third act. Guys, focus on the story and your characters. It's really what we care about. We don't need to go spend more and more money. And maybe that's the studio's doing, but this is another example where it's like, the finale to me wasn't as exciting as the rest of the movie. Still, not offensive enough where I can't recommend the movie, but overall, I enjoyed it a lot. And I enjoyed the supporting cast. Jack Whitehall plays Emily Blunt's brother. I forget their characters' names. I know Dwayne plays Frank because they scream his name over and over again. My 2-year-old loved that, kept screaming, Frank! But Paul Giamatti plays a fun little character in the beginning of the movie, and then Édgar Ramírez plays this sort of, how do I say it? He's an interesting character throughout, but ultimately near the end wasn't a fan of sort of the fantastical things they decide to choose to do with him. And I'm a fan of Édgar Ramírez as an actor. He's been popping in a lot of stuff. He was in Yes Day, which my kids loved. Great. He was the dad there. Really fun Netflix family movie. If you haven't watched that one, I highly recommend you do that one for a family movie night as well. But Jesse Plemons is the real bad guy here. Seemingly Nizi, but clearly Disney didn't want to make him be that. He's just an evil German with other symbols on him. And but he gets to really, twirl his mustache as the bad guy here, and I found it funny. He's definitely scary, he's goofy scary, but he's definitely a villain. And I enjoyed his character was much needed, and I preferred his character to some of the other characters that you meet as the film progresses. Overall, the film is good. There's a moment here that they're talking about that Disney's patting itself on the back, where Jack Whitehall's character is apparently, even though he never says the word, is the first openly gay character in a live action movie that they're doing here, where they really just sort of have a whole scene about it. And while I applauded the scene, the scene really, they do this thing where they admit he's gay and why he has sort of problems and doesn't want to date ladies. They do the scene with Dwayne in the movie. And look, I had no problem with the scene, but then they never really flat out explain it. Well, because I like guys. He never says it. It's this very weird, queer baiting, I guess is the word, where it's like, my kid, when that scene happened, she's like, what is he talking about? It's like either do it or don't do it. I'm kind of over the, which one is it? Just say, yeah, just make it. Yeah, well, it's because I like, whatever. It made sense to the plot. It made sense to his character. It didn't feel like it was shoehorned in any way, but it felt like Disney was trying to be progressive, but then didn't go all the way. And this is just one little minor scene. It's in no way affects the rest of the movie. In no way would I call the film woke. But it's just such an overused term these days. But there's one moment in there that I had no problem with it. Some people may, if religious or whatever, but I think get over it. The character's fun. It's a nice moment in the film, but I wish they would have just owned it. Overall, look, I'm nitpicking here. The film really is a good time. It's a good adventure film. I got to applaud Dwayne and Emily for having great chemistry and picking this project together. I hope to see them again. I think they would be a good duo in future films. And I look forward to what else they do. So yeah, this is now going to be in theaters, which it's definitely a theater movie, guys. If you can make it out, if you feel safe with your families to go to the theaters, this is a big screen adventure. But Disney, for some reason, is looking to cannibalize their sales and ticket sales by offering it for $30 as well at home. So you can just buy it once and then never have to worry about it again. I don't know why they're doing it, but they're doing it. So I think that's going to hurt its box office potential, just like Black Widows, because this doesn't have the Marvel appeal. But it does have family appeal. So it'll be very interesting to see how this film does. But I do have to give it a thumbs up. I recommend it. Go check out Jungle Cruise this weekend if you can. Are you excited to see it? Let me know what your thoughts are. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for me, please. The bell for all alerts, and smash that like button and leave a comment down below on your thoughts on the film. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more movie content here on Movie World.